You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, this is very interesting, especially if you're a Caitlin Clark fan. You're hoping to see her on Team USA in 2028. And it's also very interesting that this looks like, at least from what I understand the role to be, it looks like Jen Rosati and Dawn Staley and all those folks that Cheryl Reeve, who had a hand in Caitlin Clark not making Team USA last year in the Olympics. It looks like they may be, now Cheryl Reeve's still there, but the actual committee looks like they may be gone. We got to remember the National Basketball Association, the NBA, the commissioner, Adam Silver, he came right out and said, I wouldn't have left Caitlin Clark off that team. And he even said, and several others said, women's basketball really dropped the ball on an opportunity to grow the women's game by leaving Caitlin Clark off that team. I contended that normally things like gymnastics gets the biggest ratings. I think if Caitlin Clark would have played, it would have been the biggest ratings of the Olympic Games last year. All right? And yeah, I don't know what it could have done to women's basketball. But there's a new sheriff in town that I believe is replacing this bunch. The committee that included Dawn Staley, Jennifer Rosati, Dan Padover, Bethany Donovan, Greg Sankey. I do not think this committee is going to have the power that they had, because Sue Bird is taking over as managing director of USA Basketball. And this is done in a model of the men's way of doing it. Okay? She will have the say over who makes this team. Now, you may be thinking, oh, great. Well, Paige Beckers and whoever's playing in the league that came from UConn just made the squad. Okay, maybe. But Sue Bird's been a vocal supporter of Caitlin Clark. All right, I'm going to call balls and strikes. Yeah, I get it. She's married to Megan Rapinoe. I get it, folks. But somebody that literally wants Joanna Man to be able to play in the WNBA. But the fact is, while everybody was coming down on Caitlin Clark last year, so many, she was one that was trying to prop her up and was an advocate for Caitlin. I do not think Caitlin Clark will not make that team next time, I can tell you that. USA Basketball will announce Sue Bird as the managing director for the women's national team Thursday morning, a source confirmed to Front Office Sports. Bird's new role is a major change for USA Basketball. Previously, the women's team and coaching staff was named by committee. Now, that is Sue Bird's job. Wow. It mirrors how things work on the men's side, where Grant Hill picks the players and the coaches for the Olympic and World Cup teams. News reported first by The Athletic. This is interesting, because does that mean that very vocal and renowned Caitlin Clark hater Cheryl Reeve may not be the coach anymore of Team USA? That's something else now, because she gets to pick the coaches. Not only the players, but the coaches. The move brings the women in line with how the men have operated for 20 years. Longtime NBA GM Jerry Colangelo held the role from 2005 to 2021 before Grant Hill replaced him. Bird's resume is more in line with Hill, who also took the job with limited executive experience. Hill has been part of the Atlanta Hawks ownership group since 2015, while Bird became co-owner of the Storm in 2024. He goes on to talk about the fact that Grant Hill is a Hall of Famer. He won a gold medal with Team USA in '96. So this is going to be very interesting. And my screen just jumped. Bird's appointment precedes a potentially young iteration of the women's national team marked by new prospects, including Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Paige Beckers, none of whom have been selected for Team Paris. There are questions regarding a number of veterans returning, including guard Chelsea Gray and center Brittany Griner. We got to remember that old guard, and I think it was fraudulent as hell. That old guard put Diana Taurasi last year on that team so she could win, what was it, a sixth or seventh gold medal, maybe a sixth. But because they allowed that to happen and they did not bring Caitlin Clark on that team, it ensured that Caitlin Clark will never be able to break Diana Taurasi's record because she would just have to play way too long now. All right? Way too long. In other words, she would be 26 before she makes the team the first time. She literally will not get an opportunity unless she plays till she's like 44 or 48 or something like that. And I think that's my conspiracy theory that goes along with all this. All right? Because remember, Diana Taurasi literally contributed nothing to that squad, won a gold medal. There was games, she got a DNP, folks. She didn't even play one game. In 2 other games, she literally contributed nothing. Nothing, like an assist. In one game, she had 2 points. It was ridiculous. Clark was left off the 2024 Olympic squad by the committee, drawing heavy criticism. The committee cited Clark's limited participation in Team USA camps leading up to the Olympics. However, with the retirement of Diana Taurasi and Bird herself after Tokyo, the women's national team is on the precipice of a new era. So, yeah, I mean, I think we all expect Caitlin Clark to make it. I'm sure the NBA expects Caitlin Clark to make it. When the commissioner of the league, that is really the boss of Kathy Engelbert, and he is, let's not get confused, when he comes out and says it was a great miss for women's basketball to have left Caitlin Clark off the team, you better make sure you get her on the team. I also believe the organizers and that have put together the, I believe it's going to be the LA games, came out and literally said, I believe it was them that said they wouldn't have left her off the team either. They were getting criticized by not just fans, but people involved in basketball at a very high level that were outside of the WNBA. So that tells you how much sort of animosity you had from inside the WNBA and in those circles, and some parts of college basketball too, versus people from an outside view involved with basketball from a business level. So, Sue Bird, she will put Caitlin Clark on that team. Caitlin Clark would have made it regardless because I expect her to be the Jordan of the game by then anyway, and one could say from a branding standpoint, she's already that anyway. But she going to be on that squad come hell or high water. But she should have been on it last year because it cost her an opportunity to break that Diana Taurasi record eventually. I'm telling you, they purposely did that so Caitlin Clark would never break Diana Taurasi's record. It's shady. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.